Nancy.
Hi, how are you? I feel like your coffee mug is perfect for this.
It's a tea mug.
I like. I like it. Well, let's make start by congratulating you in this film because you had a lot in it. You had grief, you had loss, you had love, friendships, and adding the touch of the musical touch to it too.
Yes, yes. It's kind of like it's taking the social realism, the kitchen sink drama of life, and mixing it with the musical form, kind of enhances this very lovely fairy tale to happen.
But what made it different is that it's not the kind of musical you anticipate, you expect. It's the kind of musical like as in reality, because we also use music to express ourselves. And we sing to them, and there are certain songs that take us back to some heartbreaking moment.
Absolutely. And it's kind of it starts at the script stage, so it's part of the narrative. It kind of tells you the story of the character, the emotions. And it was always, very important that, we always said nobody bursts into song. We go in very gently with the music, we pull the audience in with us, and then we go for the big. But it really is about the human connection to music, and that's how the characters use it in the film. So it is a musical as a musical is defined, and it's written as a musical, as it's part of the storytelling narrative. Um, but it's sung in a very different way. It's sung in a very human way, like you and I would sing music, as you just said.
Exactly. But let's start from the beginning. Where was the inspiration in writing the story?
I think the inspiration came from wanting to tell a story about love, and really kind of a love that celebrated working class women, and and their friendships in all its forms. And it was really about platforming that. I wanted to see a film with women, 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 because I haven't seen one. And from my past experience of life, I'd worked in a chicken factory briefly after leaving school, and had this amazing camaraderie with these women in this factory. I was brought up by my brilliant mother who worked in a factory, and I saw the camaraderie she had and the resilience of battling life with these incredible friendships. So it was really about platforming that, and looking at these big screens and finally going, there's a woman who I can see myself in. You know, when we tried to get the script financed, they were all kind of like, can you make the girls 20? And we were like, no. We really kind of like stuck to our guns and said, this is about celebrating women of all ages. So that was the most important thing.
So was the Gwen's character something that kind of some parts or maybe relatable to your mother?
My grandmother more. My grandmother was naughtier than my mum. My grandmother was very naughty. She was this incredible character, and I think what's beautiful about the Gwen character is that if you have ever experienced anybody at the end of their journey in life, she's just this extraordinary person who's accepted the fate and doesn't give two tosses of what comes out of her mouth. Um, and also, these beautiful moments that where the two of them are connecting and understanding that one is going and one is staying. But very much based on my grandmother, who I sat with during her final moments, and you know there was a lot of fun that came out of her mouth, and that was also beautiful to experience as well. And that just matriarchal kind of like figure in our households that we've all kind of had and been brought up with.
The scene that kind of told me that there was going to be a strong connection was when Gwen says, "Why don't you just kill me already?" Right? Or something like that. And Helen's like, "No, because I would be going to jail." And she's like, "Aren't we already kind of living a prison life?"
Yeah, 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 yeah. She kind of says to her, yeah, just let me get out of it. And it's like, I'll go to prison, we're already in one, love. And I think that's a beautiful thing, both in a very different prison, but again connecting in that same emotion of being stuck.
Tell me what was harder, casting the right characters or choosing the songs?
I mean, I always had Louise Brealey in mind for playing Helen. I'd seen her in the Sherlock, and I loved what Louise. You can kind of see Louise has an enormous amount to offer as an actor. You can kind of, she gives you a heart. Um, I think, you know what? I think they're both very difficult things to do. The songs is always hard because you've got to go through a lot of kind of searching and gathering the right one. I think casting is an instinct. Probably the music is too, but if it's saying the right thing. But I think when you meet an actor, I never get them to read anything. It's always a conversation. And there's an instinct you feel that where you know there'll be a great trust between each other, and they're going to give you everything, and you're going to give them everything. Casting.
Talk about your work as the director of the film. Can we talk about the scene at the funeral home? What made you want to make some of those scenes like slow motion?
Because it's all about the anger. You know, I think anybody who goes to a wake or a funeral, there's a great sense of, there's a heaviness in the room, and for me the heaviness kind of directed me towards the slow motion aspect, the pain, the anger, you know, even to eating a sausage roll while you're watching a piece of theatre going on. I kind of feel that funerals are like a piece of theatre. Everybody's on performance mode because it's just quite really hard to unzip yourself in public. I'm saying that as a British person, you know, the unzipping is always quite difficult. And for me, that the moments of that entire funeral release was about Gary unzipping his pain. And for me, that unzipping came with slow motion. So it really was about connecting to the feeling I had in my heart and here, and connecting that pain to the audience.
And there was a strong scene with when there's some shouting in the streets, and with Joanne and the brother like insulting her about who, in quotes, is to the world, to the neighborhood. And that was a strong scene.
Yeah, it's a really, it's almost like a Western, that, isn't it? It's kind of like it's talking about the world we live in, the world that's kind of putting up fences, and they don't like the strangers, and they don't like these people coming in. And we're very much living in that world at the moment. And I think part of that process was to watch the walls close in on her. And the beauty of what happens to her is that she breaks them down. But I feel we sometimes live in this world where, if you don't fit into a certain place, then people will build a fence around you and not allow you near it. And, if you go back to the old Westerns of, looking at each other and people crossing their eyes and kind of, who is this stranger in the middle of us? That's kind of how it feels to me. And, he really exposes her in that scene, which makes her, it's the kind of, it's the instigator for her to close herself off to any kind of emotion again.
Why the title, Chuck Chuck Baby?
The word Chuck is a really big term of affection here. So if you're talking to, a lot of people say, "Oh, hi mate," here where I come from, it's kind of, how you doing, chick, or how you doing, Chuck. So it was just the whole thing of calling the factory Chuck Chuck Baby.
Oh, I like it. I feel like that would be a perfect bar name.
Great, isn't it?
Yes. And I don't know about you, but I think I might be seeing chickens a little different. Whole chickens, at least.
No chickens were harmed in the making of the film.
And I think it's fun how you use the chickens as like some sort of metaphor of the characters expressing themselves.
It's fantastic because they're so used to working with this chicken that it becomes almost like a puppet for them, and it's that's the whole thing. But I do stress then, no chickens were harmed in the making of the film. The production designer, Caroline Steiner, is a total vegan. So all these chickens were made, but yeah, it becomes a prop when you're working on a production line and you're constantly moving your hands to move something. It becomes like a puppet. So it's their expression, the throwing, the talking, the waving about, and
Stuffing.
yeah, with those naughty notes.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations with this film. I had a blast. I loved it.
Thank you so much indeed, and thank you for taking time to talk to me.
Of course, I'm gonna need a shirt like yours.
Send me your address. I'll post you one out.
Oh, I would love it. Thank you so much.